From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
You could call him a pig whisperer.
You go to the store and you look at a slab of pork and it has our label on it, and you're like, it makes me feel proud to say we've put that out there.
Meet a leader in and out of the barn in today's Barn Heroes. Ag exports are down while imports are up. We'll have the latest on the trade gap as we prepare for possible changes to yield predictions for corn and soybeans.
We talk to a lot of folks that say this could be our biggest crop ever.
The impact right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer.
Ben's bins, please hold.
Yeah, Ben's has been busy all day.
Seems like no one can keep up with this new Z series. What did you all put in these seeds?
Science.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Later today, USDA will release key numbers that could influence grain prices for the foreseeable future. We're talking about the latest supply-demand report. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins me. Michelle, crop ratings are higher right now, and the weather looks favorable. That has many analysts thinking USDA might call for even bigger corn yields.
Right, early estimates for the August WASDE are higher on yield for both corn and soybeans, and the markets have been pricing this in as they've been at or grinding into some new lows on new crop futures the last couple of weeks. Now, it's not uncommon for USDA to raise yield in the August report. The key will be how much, and will it be offset by lower acres? The average pre-WASDE trade estimates are in agreement for record yields. They're forecasting USDA to raise yield on soybeans by about a half bushel to 52.5, but corn could be up an average 1.2 bushels per acre at 182.2. Some firms, though, are even higher.
We talk to a lot of folks that say this could be our biggest crop ever. Some folks feel fairly confident in that. And so we actually came in a shade over 183 on corn. That might be one of the higher estimates. I don't know. But I've got to think, looking at what USDA has done in the past, they're basing this on thermal imaging and, of course, some of your survey-based approach.
But just based on crop ratings in the drought monitor, Bennett says the crop is devoid of drought or other production problems.
But whenever you have that big of an area of the Corn Belt that's essentially doesn't have any issues this time of year, you've got to assume that you're going to have an awfully big crop.
The key is, will there be an offset to yield from lower acreage? Trade guesses put corn acreage down nearly 500,000, with soybean acres down nearly 200,000. And NASS's already stated they'll be incorporating acreage data from FSA and the Risk Management Agency.
So maybe we get some adjustment there. Nothing promised, but they're going to look at it at least, so we'll see. But even there, if we even lose 1 million acres of corn with the potential yield we got, it all kind of comes out in the wash. And we're still going to have a heavy supply pile that we need to move.
Still, the trade is projecting a slight increase in corn production at just over 15.1 billion bushels, with new crop ending stocks around 2.1 billion. Soybean production and ending stocks are both pegged to rise around 30 to 35 million bushels from last month. Meanwhile, wheat ending stocks are expected to be up only slightly at 859 million. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. And we're getting ready to check out this year's corn and soybean crops for ourselves. The annual Pro Farmer Crop Tour kicks off a week from today, August 19th. Now, this is the 31st year for the tour, which will focus on Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ohio, and South Dakota. Each night, crews in the East and West will meet to talk about samples and tour leads. Brian Grady of Pro Farmer and Chip Flory of AgriTalk will bring you the average potential yield estimates for each state, and we'll bring you those numbers nightly as part of Crop Tour Live on Farm Journal's social media channels and on agweb.com. It all starts next Monday. USDA announced several soybean sales to end last week, including more than 4.8 million bushels of new crop to China and almost 8 million bushels to unknown destinations. And those exports are needed right now amid lower prices. USDA releasing the latest ag trade numbers for the first 9 months of the year, October through June, with exports totaling $135.3 billion. That's down 4% from the previous year. Ag imports They're in at $154.1 billion, up 4% from before. Now it leaves a deficit of $18.8 billion, $11.6 billion lower than it was in 2023. Experts say there is continued cooling of U.S. export values, which is tied to bulk commodities, which account for a third of all ag exports. But the issue isn't because crops are not being sold and shipped.
Corn, which we said was down 6% by value, is actually up 29% by volume.
Export values for wheat, corn, soybeans, and cotton were all down. To meet USDA's forecast, exports need to average $11.74 billion over the next 3 months. Hopefully the East Coast will get the chance to dry out this week after getting hit with several rounds of rain from the remnants of Tropical Storm Debbie. Meteorologist Jack Van Meter has a look ahead for us.
Well, good news about tropical system Debbie. Now it is now a low pressure system well out into the Atlantic. It did exit the continental U.S. over the weekend and it caused a lot of problems, but thankfully that has all moved on, and actually what it's doing is it's letting the jet stream flow free now. It actually kind of was a bit of like a backstop and really causing temperatures to soar, and we're going to be continuing to see hot temperatures throughout this week. I'll have a little more details in just a little bit, but we can see down in Texas especially going to be very hot and below average out on the East Coast. And take a closer look at the floodwaters in South Carolina last week, caused by what's left of Tropical Storm Debbie. Aaron Eldridge shot this video while wading through knee-deep water. Aaron said it didn't appear at the time he had any damage to his home, but the water was above the step bar of his truck and touching the bottom of the door. I'll have your forecast coming up.
One of the largest privately held companies in the U.S. could soon be going through some changes. Reuters reports Cargill will make structural changes after missing internal earnings goals. It reports an internal company document shows plans by Cargill to streamline operations into 3 units instead of 5. Starting September 1st, those 3 units would be food, ag, and trading, and a specialized portfolio. The memo states less than a third of Cargill's businesses met their earnings goals in fiscal 2024. Cargill's competitors, ADM and Bunge, recently missed Wall Street analyst estimates for second quarter earnings. Cattle and wheat find some positivity to end last week, while corn and soybean wait for fresh data from USDA. We'll talk markets coming up next. And later, we're off to extreme southwest Kansas to meet this month's barn hero. See how more than 20 years of service is still paying off in the country. Corn futures on Friday extended their losses for a 4th straight session. Corn now at its lowest price since October of 2020. Michelle Rook is back to let us know if better news is on the horizon in markets now.
Both corn and soybeans ending lower again on Friday. Oliver Slope Blue Line Futures is back with analysis and more new contract lows in the new crop. You know, I know we're trading bigger yields in anticipation of this WASDE today, Oliver, but how much is already priced in?
Well, that's the $1 million question. I think a lot of it probably is priced in, but I think it becomes, you know, what's going to be the good news to get the funds to cover, right? Funds are, you know, probably in the neighborhood of about 300,000 contracts to the short side, and that's a lofty position. I don't know that they're really going to press the pedal to the metal much more on the short side, but I don't necessarily think they're going to cover either unless we get at that catalyst. What could the catalyst be? Well, I think you had mentioned those expectations. The expectations are very lofty, and it's almost the reverse of what we've seen in prior years, where there were more concerns around this time of year about what the potential yields could be. So the bar was set low. We were able to overcome those expectations, and that's what pressures prices during harvest. Well, this year it's almost, you know, the opposite scenario, where everybody out there knows that there's a lot of good looking corn out there, and the expectations are so high that it becomes maybe difficult to not only meet but exceed. And so if we do fall short of those expectations, maybe potentially that's something that could get this market moving back north again.
Yeah, and it's really disappointing when on Friday you can't even rally soybeans when you finally get some flash sales and some export business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Thursday and Friday were disappointing trades. Thursday, we had pretty good news on the export front for new crop sales on the weekly report. And then on Friday, we had that string of flash sales. And the fact that we weren't able to sustain any sort of strength and even finish it unchanged on the day was certainly a bit of a caution flag. And longer term, the demand it just needs to pick up. That's all it boils down to. And I don't necessarily think that that's going to be, turning on a dime anytime soon. There's been a lot of talk about, into the election and trade negotiations with China. And I think that's going to continue to weigh pretty heavy on the market. And then also, as mentioned with corn, we've got these expectations of a big crop.
Thanks for joining us. Oliver Sloat, Blue Line Futures. Will have more AgDay coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
And now we're seeing that Tropical System Debbie is finally out of the United States. And like I was saying before, it causes the jet stream to flow free now. But unfortunately, it looks like we're going to go into another ridging pattern where we're going to see high temperatures and low humidity. And unfortunately, it's looking like, especially down in Texas and the South, on the Gulf of Mexico, where we're going to be seeing below average precipitation. And we're going to see that pattern where those showers and thunderstorms are just going to follow the ridges of the jet stream. So let's go ahead and time things out. We can see that everything has exited again into the Atlantic Ocean, and we did have this little trough come down from Canada today. But as we can see, as everything moves out, we can see these high pressures and these heights start to build up once again. And by midweek, again, we have that we have the ridge set up once more when we just have those arches in the middle of the country. That's what's dominating. That is high pressure, especially down in Texas, forcing the atmosphere up a lot and really not seeing any rain whatsoever. But we are going to be seeing a couple showers, or ridge riders as we like to call them. And what they do is they come down the leeward side here of the ridges and really follow that temperature gradient quite a lot. And that's going to be the pattern that we're going to be seeing set up in the United States this week. Again, we can see that, and it looks like by the end of the week, it'll finally start to break down. As we can see on our future track here, we can see that precipitation take that pattern from the middle of the country, from the plains, moving down south as well. And we'll be seeing this throughout the week, and that's going to be the main plan as well. As we can see, just heavy rainfall through much of the country this week following those ridges down. Jackson, Maine, 68 degrees, 55 degrees, showers though. Rolla, Missouri, 75 degrees, 63 degrees. May have some storms in the morning though. And Salt Lake City, 89 degrees, 67, thunderstorms in the evening.
Check out this massive pig that brought home the bacon at the Iowa State Fair. The boar broke the event's all-time weight record at a colossal 1,420 pounds. Now, his name is Finnegan, and his porky poundage eclipsed the previous record holder by 85 pounds. Finnegan belongs to pork producer Brian Britt of Monticello. Brian says Finnegan reached the record weight thanks to a lot of corn and soybeans, eating about 24 pounds of feed a day. Well, up next, we'll hear from a guy getting his fill on used equipment. Machinery Pete is next. And later, we're off to far southwest Kansas to meet a barn hero who's dedicated more than 2 decades to caring for livestock and people in the country. Machinery Pete recently got caught up in an earthquake, and he also got to check out a green tractor that isn't it.
Well, my friends at Randall Brothers in Holgate, Ohio, caught my attention last Thursday with a social media video clip of their famous earthquake tractor. And they were stretching its legs, getting ready to take it to the Alberton, Ohio Plow Days, which was this past Saturday. And I guess seeing earthquake, seeing it and hearing it got me thinking about vintage four-wheel drive tractors last Thursday. And actually that day, last Thursday, we did see this tractor sold on an auction in Mercersburg, Pennsylvania, collector auction, an Oliver 2655. And it went for $7,500. Now that sort of got me thinking about how rare they are. I just don't run across that many Oliver 2655. So I went to our machinerypete.com auction price archive, which of course is free to view, and we update it every day. And sale prices on these Oliver 2655s can really vary. Now, on the high side, here's a picture of one that sold a couple years ago, back on July 20th of 22. Our friends at Maury Auction Company in Milford, Illinois, sold this Oliver 2655, went for $25,000. Now, a little more recently, late last November 29th of 23, good folks at Big Iron had an Oliver 2655 out of Atkinson, Nebraska, 72 model. It was showing just under 3,800 hours. Obviously not quite ready for any parades yet, but that brought $10,750. Now, folks, if we stay with the same theme of vintage four-wheel drive tractors from the 70s, but change the shade of green a little bit, probably the nicest John Deere 7520 I've seen the last year or so was this one. It was a 75 model with 4,884 hours on it, sold on auction December 1st of 2023 in Marion, Indiana by Schrader Real Estate and Auction. Went for $20,750.
All right, thanks, Pete. Up next, celebrating the men and women who care for our nation's livestock. We call them barn heroes. Our latest recipient takes us to work in Southwest Kansas. Next. Authority, respect, admiration, empathy. What makes a good manager? Well, today we'll meet a man wielding all of those traits as he celebrates his team at Seaboard's pork operation in Southwest Kansas. Nominated as this month's Barn Hero. Every day.
Pigs are healthy. Pigs are thriving.
Every interaction.
Looks good.
Every barn full of pigs is a chance for Ariel Gonzalez to make an impact.
I take a lot of pride in what I do out here, and it matters a lot to me. So every day I come out and try to make a difference.
It's work that started more than 2 decades ago.
I was thinking I was only going to be here for the summer, and then the summer went by, and 21 years later, I'm still here.
Today, he's the production manager for Seaboard Foods, Region 6, covering 8 multi-sites, 412 barns, and more than 400,000 pigs a year.
Ariel has got a very unique combination of talent and experience. His communication skills are good. He's been in the facilities for a long time. Most employees know who he is. He cares a tremendous amount about what he does each and every day.
Working in the pork industry and around thousands of pigs was a new experience when Gonzalez started.
Maybe one pig I've been around in my whole life prior to Seaboard. So when you come in and you walk into a barn that houses 1,000 pigs, you're taken back and you're in shock. But then they're very a curious animal.
He had to learn to see the barn and the pigs individually.
And I'm like, they all look the same to me. They all look the same. I mean, we want to, pull out the ones that aren't competing in the pen. We want to pull them out and put them in a lesser competitive pen. And I'm like, man, they all look the same. I don't know. And it takes a while for your eye to develop the difference and it's very what we call tunnel vision, just looking at one thing. And with time and with experience, you get to broaden that tunnel.
Lessons he's now teaching and sharing with others.
Pigs react to your sounds and whistles, so it becomes something normal for all the employees to make sounds so you can get a reaction from pigs and see, how they're doing, their mental state while doing that. Sometimes that's how we evaluate that. The health of the barn, we evaluate through their activity level.
You can see employees gravitate towards Ariel because he's got a smile on his face. He's there to help. He's here to add value to what they're doing every day. He wants to make their job easier.
Everybody gets motivated in a different way, but it's very challenging on a big, diverse group of people to try to find that, what challenges them and what motivates them.
From his early days as one of the few bilingual speakers on the farm to now a dedicated employee with years of management experience, Gonzalez is all in on the importance of his work.
You go to the store and you look at a slab of pork and it has our label on it, and you're like, it makes me feel proud to say we put that out there.
In rural communities, so many kids leave the area and gravitate towards urban areas. Ariel stayed here. He's built a life and a career for himself and for his family.
From a summer job to building a life and a future inside these walls, with a new title in tow, Barn Hero.
I think a barn hero is someone that just shows up each and every day with a good attitude, a positive outlook, wants to do the right thing each and every day for our pigs and for our people.
I enjoy what I do, and if that makes me a hero, then that's good enough for me.
All right, and that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great week on Farm Country.